The last thing that we want to know is how good is our model? Remember that regression uses the model of a straight line and asks how well the data, which we could see in a scatter plot, fit that straight line. So the regression line is only a model that is based on the data. In fact, our model may or may not reflect reality, so we need some way of testing how well this model fits with our observed data. How might we go about doing that? Well, we can examine the residuals, the unexplained variance, what is left over after we have run our model. As you scroll down in your SPSS output, you'll find two graphs that probably look unfamiliar. We've never seen these before. The first one is called a PP plot. And it is basically a straight line that runs on a 45-degree angle with a bunch of dots overlaying that line. If the dots are close to the line, that means that they're about what we expected and that they are more or less normally distributed. So we should see a good distribution of those dots right on that straight line all the way up. It's possible that part of the dots could be on the line and then at some point they veer off of the line and then come back. We see a slight amount of that, but certainly not anything out of the ordinary. The second thing we want to look at is the scatter plot of the residuals. Now, remember, if there is not a relationship between x and y, the scatter plot looks kind of elliptical or cloud-shaped or no pattern. It's not easy to see where you would put a straight line through the data. And what we see here in examining the residuals is, well, it's cloud-shaped, it's elliptical, it's roundish. It means that there's no distinct pattern in the residuals. If there was a pattern, we might have a problem. We'd have to look into that further, and there's options of things that we could do. What I want you to see in examining the residuals is that once we get into using the general linear model and the regression equations, things become more complicated, and it's not enough simply to run a test. We need to check assumptions, we need to check residuals, we need to make sure that the data are telling us exactly what we think that they are telling us. So we examine residuals to find out how good our model really is. One of the assumptions for regression is that the dependent variable is normally distributed. It doesn't really matter what happens with our independent variables, but the dependent variable should be normally distributed. In this case, we see that our histogram pretty nicely matches that normal distribution, so that's good. This is something else that we should always check on when we run our regression equation. All right, so those are the things that we look for, and now you know how to do both simple and multiple regression in SPSS. Now we're ready to get on with the rest of the week. Take a look at that homework, give yourself plenty of time, and focus on learning about that simple linear regression.